Welcome back to Nifty 50 Photographers. Now, I've had a few people asking me if I would go through my editing process for fine art black and white architectural photos, so that's exactly what today's video is about. First thing I do is to open my photo in Lightroom, and I literally just hit auto on the exposure button just to get the exposure something right. Now when I import this, I also do things like I make sure that there's a lens profile correction applied and so on. The next thing I do is sharpen the photo. I take this up to 90 and I apply some sharpening masking, and if you press the Alt key on Windows or Option key on a Mac, you can see the screen change from black to white, and I slide the masking and it usually ends up somewhere around about 50%. Now once we've done that, I would normally apply some transformation, some upright correction, and I'll start with auto and see if that works. And on this photo it does. Incidentally, this is a photo of the Coast Watch observation tower. It's at Russell Point, it's on the Lancashire coast, and it looks out over Morecambe Bay. Now the next thing I want to do is crop this to the final size of the image, and I'm going to crop this as a square image. It's a very common format for fine art shots, and I think it works well for the composition I've got here. So once I've got that cropped to the size I want, the next thing I'm going to do is import that into Photoshop. So I simply go to the edit menu and go to edit in Photoshop. Once that's opened, the first thing I'm going to do is there's some lens flare here because I was shooting into the sun. And actually this photo was taken pretty much, I think it was taken probably 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, so in high sun, not ideal light, but you can see it works well for fine art black and white. You can get away with it because you're creating a piece of art. It's not really just a photo that has to look gorgeous and totally realistic. And now to get rid of this lens flare, I'm simply using the spot healing brush tool. So you select that, paint over the flare and see what it does, and in this case does a pretty good job, so I'm happy with that. The next thing I'm going to do is duplicate my layer because it's always nice to have an original layer to go back to just in case you've made some silly mistake and you want to rewind. Once that's all done, we're going to work on this duplicate layer. Now I'm going to start on my selections, and the first thing I'm going to do is select the sky. There is an option in Photoshop to do a sky selection, so let's start with that, and I'll show you another way of doing your selections when it comes to select areas of the building. They're both equally applicable. I find the sky selection can be quite laborious, so sometimes it is easier just to select it with something like the polygonal lasso tool. But let me show you how this works. So you press sky selection, Photoshop does its thing, and you end up with this selection of the sky. Now the first thing I want to do is save that as a new channel because we're going to work on that selection because it's not perfect. When Photoshop selects the sky, it's thinking you might want to do something like a sky replacement or change perhaps the exposure or something of the sky. So it's actually selecting a bit more than the sky. It's selecting areas where the sky might be reflected in the image as well. And for this kind of photo, I want a very clear definition between the sky and everything else. So I want to make the lines between it very strong, so when I show them on the channel, it should simply be white where the sky is to indicate it's selected and black everywhere else. So how we get round that, once we've got this sky selection, if you zoom in, you can see there's areas of grey here, and there's areas where the sky perhaps is showing through the window as it does in the observation deck. And on the top of this building there is also a balcony, I think, with a glass balustrade, and obviously the sky coming through that. Now I'm going to choose to make that glass balustrade part of my building, and this is just an artistic choice. You don't have to do that. You could let it still be sky if you want, but for ease I think it's and I think it's going to not alter the final image if I make this part of the building, so I'm simply going to do that. Now how I do this is you take a brush and make sure it's set to the default colors of black and white, and you're going to paint black where you don't want it selected and white where you do want it selected. So I'm just going to paint over the areas that are part of the building as black and any areas of sky that are showing that they might have been picked up in the selection, I'll paint over those with white to ensure that the sky is properly selected, and the rest is black to show it's not selected. So we simply do that. Make sure your brush is set to 100% opacity, and I'm also going to set the hardness to 100% because I want a straight edge between the building and the sky. I don't want that edge to be fuzzy at all. I want it to be a true hard edge. Now, for the rest of the building, you can see it's a little bit grey in areas because it hasn't, as I mentioned before, been fully selected. So one easy way now is to paint over that and change the blend mode of your brush to overlay. What the overlay mode does is it makes light pixels lighter and dark pixels darker, and any that are 50% just disappear. So it's a very quick way of painting over areas that might be already quite dark and making them black, because that's what overlay will do. It's a bit like a combination of screen and multiply. And then you'll have to switch your brush back to normal for some of the other areas where overlay isn't going to work. It's going to convert your dark things to dark where perhaps you want them white because already they're starting off as being too dark. So you paint over those areas in normal mode. For instance, in this glass on the observation deck, I'm going to have to paint that probably in the normal mode to make it look like sky and therefore get selected. Once you've done that, we should end up with a selection looking like this, and I'll switch on the other channels, the RGB channels, so you can see it all in red. So there it is, completely silhouetted in black and white, so you can clearly see I've selected the sky and the building has not been selected, none of the foreground, the sea and everything in the foreground is not selected either. Once we've done that, we can inverse this to get our next selection, which is everything but the sky. And again, save it, and I'm going to save that as the inverse sky, so I know that that's every other area but the sky itself. So the next thing then is to select the various areas of the building that you want to treat differently. Now, at this point, you need to have a vision in your head of what the final image is going to look like. And I, as I've mentioned in other videos, find it useful to have a sketch of that. I quite often sketch it using an app called Procreate. I'm not going to go through that whole process now, but I'll show you a very quick example of how I did it. So that gives me in my head the kind of final image in a very rough format, so I know exactly which parts of the building I want to have as separate selections. I use the polygonal lasso tool. I go round the building very carefully, picking up the areas that I want so that I'm defining the boundaries for each bit of the building that I want to treat differently in my development process. And again, I will save those and I'll give them some sort of meaningful name so that when I come back, I can work on each area of the building as a separate entity. Now, once I've done that, you'll see I've got a bunch of different selections. So let me show you all the different selections I've got. So there's the sky. This is the everything but the building. I've got this little forward observation deck. I've got the building without the observation deck. I've got this front triangle of the leaning building. I've got this block on the end of that. I've got the back panel, and I've got this stairwell. That's the glass of the stairwell. And then the other section of the upright of the building, the other bit of building which is catching the sun a little bit differently, so I want to treat that differently. And there was a small building behind, I think it's the toilet block. And then I've got elements of the foreground that I want to treat differently as well. So you can see all my different selections there. So the next step of my process now is to convert it to black and white. So go up to Properties, we find the Adjustments tab, and we find the option for black and white. And then you can play around with the presets and see if one of those suits your photos, or you can play around with the sliders and adjust them till you get the look you're wanting. Now remember, what we're trying to do is take this 2D shape and make it appear more 3D. So you're looking for areas of strong contrast, and look how the sliders alter the image to give you the contrast or the lightness, the darkness that you want in the different areas. You might find some things go too dark, some things go too light, and there's not enough contrast between them. But when you're happy with the position of all those, or the preset you've chosen, then that's your job done as far as converting it into black and white. And now the fun really begins. This is the time now that you can start to get creative. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new layer, and I'm going to work on the sky. So now we're going to load our selection of the sky. And once we've done that, I'm going to make this the color I want. So you might be wanting to make it more white. In my case, I usually want to make the skies darker. So I'm going to paint on this using my brush again, and I'm going to start with the gradient tool. I'm going to set the opacity quite low, something like 15%, and just paint some gradient in. And if it's too much, the beauty of this is, because it's just on a layer, just delete the layer and start again. And I'm going to build that up until I've got the kind of depth and the kind of shading that I want in the sky. And I will do some of it also, not just as gradient, but with a brush as well, because there might be areas, particularly around the outside edge, where I want to create more of a kind of vignette style. So I'll get a big brush, and this time I'm going to make it soft, not hard. I usually work on it as 0% hardness. And again, just watch your opacity. Maybe you need to take that down to a lower value, and then you can just paint in bits. And we're just painting on the sky at this point. I take my opacity down to something like 5 or 6%, just to do this sort of more fine retouching of the sky. So the next thing I want to do is now to create a second new layer, and I'm going to create a 50% mid-grey layer. So to create this layer, you press Shift Command N or Shift Option N, but make sure you choose a mode that is a lighting mode, so either soft light or hard light. And I would start with soft, and then you'll get a box at the bottom that says fill with soft light, neutral color, 50% gray, and make sure that that is ticked. And now we're going to paint on this layer. Now if you find it's not dramatic enough, you can change the blend mode from soft to hard if you want to get a more severe effect. But now I'm going to paint on some of the surfaces. I'm going to set my opacity very low, below 10%. And next thing you need to do is load a selection. So we'll load part of the building that we want to work on, and then we'll start creating patterns on that. So if I load this bit of building, this back of this front triangle, and I want to make that darker so that I can make it obvious that it is a different part of the structure, so that there is a difference between that front triangle and the main bit at the back with the staircase in. By making this dark and putting it into shadow and creating a contrast between the other panels so that it gives that three-dimensional effect. And I'm going to paint it darker to the edge on the left-hand side of the screen, and maybe a slightly bit less paint applied on the bit in the on the right-hand side of that block. And we just build up the paint until we've got the aim we're looking for. So we're painting with our black brush again, and we're doing this at about 5 or 6% opacity. If you want to lighten it, switch your brush mode to white, and that's just pressing just press the X key, and that'll flip from black to white with your brush. And you can lighten it up a bit with white if you wish. If you make a mistake or you put too much on, you can use the eraser, erase it off. And again, as I say, if you're totally unhappy with everything you've done, delete the layer and start again. That's the beauty of this process. It's very non-destructive. So now you've got to go around and work on all the different areas of the building till you've got the look that you imagined in your head or in your sketch, and make the different areas darker and lighter, and so you get these elements of shade and light and contrast that'll give that sort of 3D feel to your image. When I've got to that point, now there's a couple of other things I could mention to you. One is, if you feel it's all going too slow, you can simply duplicate your layers And the quicker and the easiest way to do that is just right click on a layer, and you'll see in the pop-up menu an option to duplicate it. So in that way you get double the effect. And I use that a lot on the sky layers, and then I tend to merge those two layers together. Simply click on the top layer, right click and press merge down. Now with the areas I'm working on the building, I tend not to merge those layers together. It tends to make things too black. Now when I'm very close to the final image, I like to create a sort of merge layer of everything I've done, and you do that by pressing on a Mac Shift, Command, Option and E all together, and it'll quickly create that layer. So on Windows that will be Shift, Control, Alt and E, and that creates a composite of all the visible layers. And from this I'm then going to create some luminosity masks. Now the simplest way to do this is go and download it as an action, and I'll leave a link in the description as to where you can download it from. You can download it from Julia Padaru. I can't remember how to pronounce her surname, but she's a great black and white fine art photographer. She has this luminosity mask action as a free giveaway on her website, so download that, and she's got all the instructions of how to import that into Photoshop as well. Once you've done that, you just need to run the action and it'll create all these luminosity masks. Now the beauty of those masks is it allows me to work on certain areas of the building that I feel are too light or too dark, and certain areas of the whole photo that I want. So once you've got that total merge copy and created your luminosity mask, you can actually delete that layer, because now you can choose whether you need to work on some areas of the building where you think the highlights are too bright, the shadows are too dark, or you want to alter the midtones or whatever. Do that, and then you should be ending up with something very close to your final edit. Now the final thing I do is I take it back into Lightroom and then do some minor tweaks to get the actual look that I'm aiming for. So the first thing I do in Lightroom is change the profile, and I choose a profile usually from the black and white section. You can actually use color if you're careful, and you get that kind of tinge like you might get from a sienna print, or a slightly bluish tint which you can get from other types of film and paper. And you don't have to apply that 100%. You can tweak it back a bit if you feel it's too strong. And once I'm happy with that, I'll maybe play around with some of the other sliders on things like highlights and shadows, just to see if I feel that gives me a little bit extra pop to my photo. And I do things like apply a final vignette to it, and that's it. It's ready to export, and I can share it with the rest of the world. I hope that's given you enough detail to be able to go and do some of your own editing in this style, and that you have some fun with it. And if you are interested in a much more detailed version of this video, broken down into separate modules as an online training course, do let me know in the comments, and that's something that I could work on. In the meantime, go and have some fun with your camera. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.